Okay, so
Okay.
Sherry, thank you for being here today. We're going to talk a little bit about Katelyn. She came to our Bloomington Center in the fall of 2017 as a full year CIP student, and she has since progressed into our graduate living community just in the fall of 2020. So, Sherry, would you briefly summarize Katelyn's experience at CIP?
Yes, I would say that CIP has been a life-changing process. Emphasis on life-changing and emphasis on process, because it's definitely been a process. And I would say that the biggest aspect of that process for her was self-discovery, which is the baseline of everything that CIP builds upon, is their self-discovery.
So, what are some of the dynamics that Katelyn faced?
Well, when I think of the word dynamics, I want to say it's a word that means to stimulate growth, to stimulate change. So I would say the things that Katelyn faced to stimulate growth and change were two, and they're completely opposites, and they're failure and success. And failure was so critical to ultimately being successful. And failure at CIP was treated with great respect and compassion. So when she failed, it did not involve being shamed by anyone at CIP. She did suffer natural consequences of choices, or even sometimes avoiding making decisions. And she was always treated with kindness and encouragement throughout that whole process of going through those natural consequences. Then on the flip side, the other dynamic that is so critical to success is celebrating that success. And CIP has been very good with that. Everyone there has taught her and encouraged her to embrace her successes, to celebrate those. And CIP has been very good to recognize those in front of our daughter's parents, us, as well as her peers. So, I mean, those were two things that she really had to go through there.
Yeah, I loved how you defined that dynamic word. And one of the things you said was that it's, kind of the indicator of growth. So how do you feel like Katelyn grew, or what were the most significant areas of growth that you saw?
As a family, we've seen 3 areas of growth. And I have one example, if I can share. One of the biggest areas is relationships. She's grown in that, in learning to set healthy boundaries, but also learning how to reveal more of herself so that others get to know her. There are 2 other areas that she's grown that we've seen. One is in academics, which will spill over into the job performance area, and emotional regulation. So those 3 areas, we kind of saw a synthesizing of those 3 areas just in the last month or 2, where she was working on a certification in some software. And typically in the past, if Katelyn felt like she got behind, or if she felt like it got hard, rather than ask for help or and persevere through the hard things, she would simply shut down and quit. And many times we wouldn't realize it until it was too late. So what she learned to do was reach out to those trusted people that mentor her and respect her. And those were her counselors at CIP. She would reach out to them in this class when it got hard and she realized she missed an assignment. And she said, I need help. She was also able to reach out to her professor immediately rather than wait or postpone. She reached out and said, "This is what I did. This is what I plan to do. Will you accept that?" And she had a professor who was willing to work with her because he had seen that she was diligent throughout the whole semester. So he gave her the opportunity to pursue, do that assignment, and she got full credit. And throughout all of that, she was able to regulate her emotions, which was something she had trouble with. So that was one instance where she was able to synthesize everything that she learned in one situation and use all of it, her relationships, pursuing the academics, persevering with the academics, and then the emotional regulation throughout it that it took to persevere. So all of those items that she grew in, we feel are what she's going to need to become a fully functioning adult. And she has shown us that she was able to synthesize and use that.
That was a wonderful example. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
So from your experience and from Katelyn's experience, would you recommend CIP to other families?
Yes, definitely I would. And I have. There have been families that I have highly encouraged to look and maybe even look a little harder at CIP. One of the things that we've, looking back, it really was a family decision that we all had to be on board with. Because when times got hard for Katelyn, we needed to all be together. We needed to depend on those at CIP. We needed to reach out and acquiesce to CIP and their guidelines, which was definitely for the benefit of Katelyn, our daughter, and our whole family. The other thing that was really helpful was our student, Katelyn, our daughter, had the buy-in. She bought into the program at the beginning. Now, was she always on board? No. And that's part of the process. And I would say that the most important thing for us that we learned over the time that we've been at CIP was all of us needed to give that process a chance. Meaning, sometimes times are hard, sometimes times are better, and there are successes and there are failures. But it's a whole learning process, and it's a definite branching away from the parent, CIP and the parent coming alongside each other to support the student as they step out and grow. So I would say it needs to be a buy-in of the whole family. It is a family decision, and sometimes things are hard, but just hang in there. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Absolutely. That is some wonderful feedback. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.